give the Richard and Karl presents Deep Space Dragons, but it just kind of started with you doing like an adjustment grunt, which is kind of a hilarious way to start the episode. So,
yeah,
you can give the intro. You've done this enough times.
I don't know. I don't think I have introduced the Deep Space Dragons enough times. Because for whatever reason,
times, but you've never introduced it. I'm making you put in your share.
Well, for whatever reason, things aren't done alphabetically around here, so I can't handle it.
Wait. Okay, so take your own take on it. Let's suppose this is like you've been guest co-hosting for a while now. Give an introduction on our show. Got 2 minutes. Go.
An introduction on our show. Our show is about everything and nothing.
Oh my God! You just described Seinfeld.
Well, I mean, really, I appreciate our fan base.
I love our fan base.
That listens to us. Just the fact that they exist is it's incredible because we really we talk about whatever we feel like talking about. For example, today, I want to rant about Mission Impossible and then talk about musicals.
You know what's funny is we've done more than one Mission Impossible episode.
Well, I mean, this is I recently watched all 7 of them, and I'm not super excited for the 8th one, but I mean it'll be all right, I guess. So I just have thoughts and comments. So, but before we get into that, what's new with you, Richard?
So, as you recall, I had my reading week, which I spent vomiting acid, like an alien from Alien. Do predators vomit acid? Anywho. So
I don't think either of them actually vomit acid. Aliens have acid blood, and
I think humans technically vomit acid if we really want to go there.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not an alien of any sort.
No, I wish I was a vampire. I've been watching What We Do in the Shadows a lot recently, and being a vampire sounds great. But no. So my reading week was pretty much me messaging profs, being like, "I'm dying. Can I have time extensions?" But all my classes are on Mondays and Fridays, so the stalkers of the internet know how to find me. Which means that I have like a 3-day weekend. So, now that I've like caught up on schoolwork, I basically gave myself my reading week this week. So I've just been playing a game called Unicorn Overlord and eating carrots for the last 3 days.
Unicorn Overlord.
So it's kind of like Ogre Battle 64 meets Fire Emblem, which might have just been nonsense words to you. Imagine Fire Emblem, but instead of turn-based, it was real-time, but the combat was pretty much the same.
Huh.
Anyway, it's like a brand new 2D game, beautiful sprite artwork, and I've sunk... Well, I haven't beat it yet, and I took a 3-day weekend.
Sorry, I drank some root beer today, and root beer specifically makes my throat kind of phlegmy. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
I mean, I'm not about to put out a casting call for best friend. I do not have the emotional bandwidth to replace you right now. Like, just the sheer energy that would take. Like, where am I even going to find a bouncy castle with giant boxing gloves to break in the new guy?
You think you're going to beat up the new guy?
No, you break in Richard's best friend by having them punch me. Like, I'm not supposed to win the fight. So, I'm obviously blue and you're red if we use the Pokemon metaphor, right? Like, I'm the one who's going to say, smell you later, and show up right in front of the gym to taunt you. That means you're supposed to beat me to build up your self-esteem. That's the point of the rival. So, you're supposed to beat me up in the bouncy castle, because I'm the smug one. That's just how the dynamic works.
Yeah, okay. But so, casting call for best friends aside, it sounds like you've had a fairly uneventful week then.
It's been so beautiful. I'm so happy. I also,
Fair enough.
Went on a couple dates and things, but no one really wants to hear about that. I spent so much time on transit, though. Like, I got back from a date at midnight with a 8 a.m. contracts class. And then, got to bed at, 1, was up at 5. I would do it again, but it's not a thing I could do repeatedly without losing days off my lifespan.
Multiple dates. Were they with the same person?
Yes.
Huh, yeah, okay. That seems pretty good. And how many of these dates were so-called session 0?
The session 0 was the in-person date, and there was one of those.
Right.
But I'm counting the video dates because we said the words video date.
Yeah, okay.
So once you add the word date to something, you're being a for realsy person.
But assumably the video dates didn't require you being on mass transit.
No, but that would have been really efficient in retrospect. Like, it wouldn't be aesthetically pleasing to be voice chatting on a bus while holding up a phone. However, it would be efficient time-wise. Actually, my prof gave me a book to read where he's just like, yeah, this other prof helped contribute writing this book. You should read it. I'm like, why would I say no to that?
Oh, so now you've been reading that on the bus?
Yeah.
Instead of video dating your lady friend?
I can only do so many things at once. I mean, like, the GTA is weird because Saskatchewan Transit didn't exist. It was just more efficient to walk places. So, like, people I know will be like, oh no, these bus routes are terrible, inconsistent. I'm like, I just went to another city on a random Thursday and made it home successfully. You guys don't know what bad bus routes are.
Well, yeah. So my girlfriend, she recently got a new job. It's slightly further away from her house. And so then she got off work. She went to wait for the bus. And, it's like 0 degrees here. The snow is all melting. It's not... I don't get why her bus would be a half hour behind. And it was just as she would have been getting on the bus by the time she got home from walking. Like, Saskatchewan transit is terrible.
I agree emphatically. Like, I would walk an hour and a half to work because it was just more efficient.
just more efficient.
So it's like, what's weird about GTA travel, yet again giving our internet stalkers the ability to find me, which, by the way, if you find me in person, I will sign your copy of my book. If you find me in person and don't have a copy of my book, you're just a bad stalker.
Or at the very least, you need to have a Karl tattoo so you can show.
Oh, if they have the Karl tattoo, like, I'm just having them over for drinks. Like, this is just an experience, an adventure, the best thing that's ever happened, maybe. Like,
I wonder how tall I sound.
Even our live chats, like, yeah, bus routes just randomly changed for no reason. It is deeply unfortunate. But the buses exist. Although, to be fair, I also took transit before I had, like, a smartphone that just told me transit routes.
Right.
Which begs the question, how am I not dead?
Well, I mean, back in the day, I had to take the bus, and you would get paper transfers. Yep. They would, like, stamp the date and time so you couldn't use it the next day, and it had to be used within an hour or whatever. And I'm downtown at the bus depot, and someone's just like, hey, give me your transfer. I was like, but I don't want to. I'm like, well, I'm taking it. And I just, like, took my transfer.
That is what I would expect to happen.
I mean, fortunately, I had a free lifetime supply of bus tickets at the time, so I wasn't really too concerned, but it was like, why did this guy just steal my transfer?
I guess maybe he lost his. The funniest thing is, in Calgary, there is like 5 stops downtown called the Free Fare Free Zone. Where it's just free to take the bus through the city core. And what every person would do is whenever busted by a transit cop, they're like, oh, sorry, I thought I was still in the fare free zone. And they just kind of let you go most of the time. Which, for the record, I believe in free public transit. Just in a general rule, because, it's plus 20 outside and it might be minus 5 tomorrow, so maybe we're destroying the earth and maybe buses just fall skyward. Yeah, chat was saying their 20-minute bus rides now are an hour long, which is deeply tragic. But where my ramble was going was, because the GTA is structured so weirdly, it takes me about the same time to go anywhere. So it's like an hour and a half to downtown Toronto, or an hour and a half to school, or an hour and a half to the closer school. And it's just kind of chaos. It's like weirdly consistent that anywhere I try and go will take me about an hour and a half, regardless how close or far it is. And I think I'm just, like, in a subspace nexus or something.
The subspace nexus of the GTA transit system.
Exactly. I think it's like a JoJo's thing where we're just kind of like in some sort of weird quantum. Anyway, what's new with Karl?
Well, yeah, just as a random side note, I realize that Toronto is one of the biggest cities, if not the biggest city in Canada. I'm not sure.
Probably.
And it's probably actually well known internationally. But I still always get a little bit confused when people say GTA.
Well, it's like...
Just Grand Theft Auto.
Well, first off, Grand Theft Auto's fun. But, like, when I try to explain Toronto to people not from this area, every place is Toronto. I live in Brampton. It is a legally distinct city. But as far as anyone on the other side of this country is concerned, is Toronto. It doesn't make a difference. That's because when you get on a bus, it's just city to city. For the rest of Canada, there's big old chunks of literally nothing. It's like, I've done the drive from Calgary to Edmonton, and I'm like, that drive is about how far I actually commute. But because you go through literally nothing, it's just a very different experience.
Well, yeah, like the one year that I went out to visit you for your birthday, we went to Canada's Wonderland, and I told all my friends I was going to Toronto, but then I went to Brampton, Burlington, Hamilton, Vaughan, and Etobicoke. I never actually went to Toronto proper while I was in the Toronto area.
But I will say, if I had the drive and spare time to make like a homebrew Pokemon game, you know, just making the GTA the entire map for your Pokemon game would be hilarious, where you had to go to each like suburb to get the gym badges.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty hilarious. But I don't live in Toronto, so that's definitely not what's new with me.
I mean, other than the fact that, actually no, I was about to give a rant where it's like, Toronto's great except the housing prices. But like, for how much cheaper rent should have been in Saskatchewan, rent prices were really hiked up when I lived there. Like, I pay my share of my rent's like $6.50 a month. I did not save cheap. A comparable amount of money living in Saskatchewan that I should have for it being an empty void and void.
Yeah, rent prices are getting ridiculous everywhere. But that's not the point of our topic. The point of our topic is that I mentioned in the opening that I watched all of the Mission Impossible movies that are currently out.
Are we talking about musicals? Is this just going to be about Mission Impossible? Because if it is, I'm going to work Godzilla vs. Kong into the discussion. But please continue.
Well, no. Basically, I wanted to talk to you about my grievances with the Mission Impossible franchise.
So, for the record, I will allow this episode to pivot to literally being an hour of Mission Impossible grievances under one condition. I need an episode title that works the word Karl, Richard, and Mission Impossible into the episode title. If you give this to me right now, I'm on board. That's your mission should you choose to accept it.
Richard's Impossible Mission, Karl's Revenge.
I kind of enjoy Mission Karlpossible, but...
I mean, I do occasionally get Kim Possible, KP.
Kim Possible is the best version of Mission Impossible. So this is legally distinct from our Spies episode where we talked a bit about it, but Mission Impossible is not a spy franchise.
Well, okay. Mission Impossible is largely portions of it are a spy franchise. Like my first comment to make about the franchise as a whole is that Mission Impossible 1 and Mission Impossible 2 do not matter. It's not even fair to compare the other 5 movies to either of those movies, because Mission Impossible 1 is quite squarely a thriller, and it's just not really an action movie.
So, to back things up a bit...
Mission Impossible 2...
You didn't even mention the TV show.
Well, I've never actually seen the TV show, so the TV show is old, and I assume it has a formula to each episode.
Probably. I mean, so, did you ever in gym class do the thing where they set up all the gym equipment with red yarn to make lasers to do like a Mission Impossible obstacle course as Mission Impossible music played?
That sounds awesome. Unfortunately, I somehow missed that.
Because it's awesome. Full stop. It's just awesome. I was not good at it.
Yeah.
Man, could you imagine if things were only awesome if I was good at them, how much of this world would instantly become lame?
Okay, so speaking of lame, so the first Mission Impossible is a thriller. The second Mission Impossible doesn't care about anything that happened in the first one. It's a spy drama. But this trend didn't hold true for the whole franchise. But the first Mission Impossible is my favorite, and it has I don't know if the scene itself is iconic, but the people pulling off the rubber face mask is iconic.
And you know what's really funny, though? That just got absorbed into, like, all the Marvel Captain America movies where they're like, Black Widow's a spy. What's a spy? I don't know. Let's just make them a Mission Impossible character.
But so, I mean, the first Mission Impossible uses the mask very effectively because spoiler alert, Ethan Hunt's team leader is a mole, and Ethan Hunt ends up using the mask of the team leader to get a confession out of the wife. And that's like the twist ending.
Oh, also twist. Ethan Hunt is Tom Cruise.
Okay. But so then, for the second one, they understood what worked, the mask, but they didn't really understand why. And so part of what makes that movie so terrible is that it's just like, they just went ham with this mask scenario. I mean, like every scene they could think of where they could put in a face mask reveal. It's like...
So, I feel like it must have been Futurama or something, but I would love to see a good parody where just every character is wearing a mask all episode long. Because, like, the mask reveal is hilarious, and, like, things love to homage it, but it doesn't get homaged as much as you would think for how iconic. It's like people play it straight. They just do the face changer mask thing instead of making the face changer mask joke, which is objectively more funny. Therefore, better.
Okay, so like Mission Impossible 1, or Mission Impossible 2, sorry. Like, imagine, if you will, you're a substitute teacher.
You know,
but
with my hypothetical timeline, that's not a hard imagination.
Okay, but as the substitute teacher, you have to wear a mask and a voice modulator so the students don't realize you're not the original teacher.
I'd watch the heck out of that movie. That'd be so stressful.
Okay.
Like, I'm thinking of my professor, one of my favorite professors right now, and he kind of sounds like Kermit the Frog with a doctorate. And I'm like, how do I channel his Muppet energy? I could be physically identical, but I'd have to channel his Muppet energy, and I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I have the sheer force of will required to, like... He's very engaging. Like, he started doing, like, a little tap dancey thing when people start looking away to get our attention back.
Ah, okay.
So, like, I just don't know if I have the sheer charisma I would need.
So Mission Impossible 2 is basically kind of that same premise. Ethan Hunt goes on holidays. A mission comes up that specifically requests Ethan Hunt. And so they get another spy to wear Ethan Hunt's face, to wear Tom Cruise's face, to do this mission. And then while on the mission, the guy decides to go rogue. It's just like, really? You're going to send in a substitute spy, but you don't want them to know that it's not the actual spy that they asked for?
So, I mean, like I said, if you're writing a comedy, if this was like a scary movie scenario and you're making your spy movie, that is hilarious. Like, get Jackie Chan and Mr. Bean in that movie, boom, you have dynamite. But it's a serious premise.
Well, yeah, so like I said, the first one...
For the record, I need to pitch something to you right now. I have an idea for a spy movie. I don't know the script, but we're going to get Jackie Chan, Tom Cruise, and Mr. Bean in it.
I mean, could be pretty interesting.
It would just be Mr. Bean is my favorite spy actor of all time, let's be real.
Why, you really enjoy Johnny English?
Yes! Unironically. It's so dumb, it just fills me with joy.
It is pretty stupid. So But then Mission Impossible 3 is where the franchise actually begins. If you don't watch 1 and 2, they literally do not matter to the franchise.
That's
so
where
Mission
Jumper
Impossible
Cable's
3.
the bomb in his head, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mission Impossibles are kind of like, I'm going to say Boruto, where I've absorbed all of them. But it's not using the good part of my brain that gives me rapid recall. It's the bad part of my brain where it's just kind of thrown in the garbage folder.
Well, so Mission Impossible 3, Tom Cruise's character, Ethan Hunt, he gets married. And then
Could you imagine getting married in a spy
mask.
movie? How stupid. Like, best case, you end up being opposite assassins. Best case.
Well, as it turns out, they are just married. And they actually, at the end of number 3, they retire. Kind of off-screen, but they retire. Well, Ethan Hunt retires.
That's really funny.
And so then the fourth movie opens up with Ethan is in a Russian prison because some Russian assassins murdered his wife. And so then he did an unsanctioned hit and murdered the Russian assassins and ended up in Russian prison.
Can I give a mini monologue about something semi-related but not really? So when I was working on making a TTRPG, which was like a NASA-themed one for one of my classes, one of my classmates handed me like the James Bond role-playing game from like early 90s. And I'm just like, if you had the right group for a Mission Impossible session who took it seriously, that'd be so much fun. But then I'm having PTSD to our Dragon Heist sessions. And I'm like, I know you could do a sweet heist. And I know those specific people can do an awesome heist. They have it in them when the mission isn't a heist campaign. They love doing elaborate heists. But when the campaign is an elaborate heist campaign, Philip not found.
Poor Philip.
That's it. That was my eternal tangent. Is like, at some point I need to run you like an actual Mission Impossible TTRPG and watch what happens.
Okay, so the fourth movie, the third movie was pretty good.
How many
like I said,
face changers out of 10 would you give it? 1 being the best.
Well, so it's I'm gonna give it probably a 3.
Okay.
3 being.
I've decided that the less face changer, the higher the score for the Mission Impossible movie.
Well, because so they use the face mask to assume someone's place and then abduct them. And then the enemy uses the face mask to basically mentally torture Tom Cruise because he murders Tom Cruise's wife in front of him.
Would that even affect
and then it turns out that it was a face mask.
Like, Tom Cruise has like, I recently, the other weekend, I don't know how this didn't make into What News With Me section, was we played Call of Cthulhu, the like super needless elaborate 2 hours to set up board game where Cthulhu falls you to madness. I just feel like Tom Cruise is just immune to eldritch horror. He just seems like he would be.
Okay, so then the second time the bad guy uses the mask to torture Tom Cruise by murdering his wife, and then it turns out to not be his wife. It turned because the villain had a subordinate that failed him, and so they just used the body double to torture Tom Cruise.
I don't hate that.
So I thought it was actually really effective uses of the mask. So it's like, yeah, okay. So they both understood what worked, and they both understood why it worked. And so that movie elevated above. Well, I mean, number 2 was a dumpster fire.
Counterpoint: there's a bomb in his head, and he jumper cabled his face. That's just dumb. Not only is it dumb, but so you know the statement that the Ark of the Covenant, Indiana Jones, the movie plays out the exact same way if he did nothing. So if the bomb is diffused by zapping yourself, and he never learned that information over the course of the movie, that means at any point in the movie he could have just zapped himself. So the movie was pointless. He just needed to tase himself sooner.
Well, I mean, you're missing the key point where he didn't have the bomb in his head the whole movie.
Yeah, but like, yeah, fine.
then there was another person who had a bomb in their head, and they were going to use the defibrillator to defuse the bomb, and then it was enough to kill the person, but it didn't actually like explode their head in the gory mess, which would have been distracting.
Distracting. Like, I like it. Like, yeah, that would have distracted me. I'm like, one of your favorite things is Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, but you don't watch Mission Impossible to see people's heads explode. That's what you watch Kingsman's Secret Service for.
For the record, Kingsman's Secret Service is by far the best Mission Impossible movie. Like, by like a lot.
but so the fourth one, in terms of the entire franchise, this is Ghost Protocol.
So I need to stop for a moment. Ghost Protocol is one of the best comedies of all time. Because they made the decision that all your equipment's going to be faulty, which means we can just put in straight up gags in our serious spy movie. And I love it. I love the secret spy walking up the thing and then the battery just dies on his magnet grappling clubbers. That's just great. It's the exact moment where they jump the shark.
I really did not like Ghost Protocol because, like I said, it
starts a spy movie instead of a comedy.
It starts with even as a comedy, I don't know. But anyways, it starts with him in Russian prison.
Like you do.
And they break him out, and then they need to break into the Kremlin to steal information about some Russian extremist guy. And then while they're there in the Kremlin, the Russian extremist guy is also there stealing something else. And he manages to
side note,
frame the IMF.
I am not the Russian Kremlin guy. I just need that on the record. That's not me.
So he manages to use that opportunity to frame the IMF, the Impossible Mission Force. He frames Ethan and his team for blowing up the Kremlin.
It literally says their IMF is the Impossible Mission Force.
Yeah.
This whole time. It's not like the International something Bureau. It's literally the Impossible Mission Force. I've been taking these movies somewhat seriously
on a 70s
for the
and
better
80s
part of
TV
20
show.
years.
It is based on a 70s and 80s TV show. So yeah, firstly, it was made before the International Monetary Fund, and secondly, they didn't actually put that much thought into their naming sense.
It's so good. Oh, like how is this? Yeah, best comedy. All right, I'm happy with it. My organization, the Impossible Mission Force, where we do missions that people would consider impossible.
So now, with Ethan Hunt's team being framed for the bombing of the Kremlin, Ghost Protocol gets enacted, and through a random series of events, Ethan ends up working with this guy who happens to be one of the spies that was supposed to protect Ethan's wife. And so he's having this emotional turmoil about the fact that he failed to protect Ethan's wife, and he stopped being a field agent because he just felt so bad, and it's like, oh man, emotional turmoil. It's terrible, right?
Emotional damage.
But well, see, the rest of the movie doesn't really matter because it's really just long, drawn-out sequences. Again, this is the one where he like climbs the side of the Wiz Khalifa or whatever the tallest tower in the world was at the time.
So do people just build towers now for they can be climbed by Ethan Hunt?
Dubai and the United Arab Emirates kind of seem to be obsessed with tall buildings.
To get Tom Cruise to climb them. You're missing the important part.
But so they have this big long action sequence of him climbing the building.
I love that.
And then it was long and drawn out. And then they have this big long drawn out chase sequence where he's running after this guy through the storm. And like, yeah, this is one of the bad Russian guy's associates, right? And then he grabs onto the guy's face, and a piece of the face comes off. And they're like, it's a face mask. And then as the guy is getting away, he stands on the truck and he looks back at Tom Cruise, and he pulls off his mask, and he turns out he's the bad Russian guy. And it's like, was his associate made up? Oh no! 20 minutes later, his associate helps him like destroy a satellite array, and it's like, so why did the bad Russian guy have to pretend to be his associate to go and buy these nuclear launch codes? Why couldn't he, why did he not go as himself or send his associate?
So what's really funny about that too is with the face changer mask, you could be literally anybody. You know what I would do if I was buying nuclear launch codes? Donald Trump face everywhere I go. No one will ever be able to pay attention to any other detail. What am I wearing? They forgot. What did I look like? What did I sound like? No idea. They just remember I had a hyper-realistic Donald Trump mask on. And then any other crime will be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was President-elect / dictator, my Lord Trumpeth.
But so the Ghost Protocol, they put in the face mask because they felt obligated to, but not because they actually had any need or any understanding of what made it work and why it was so iconic.
So, to go on a side tangent, first off, a moment of silence for Akira Toriyama. And also, they're really bad for doing that with the Kamehameha and the Spirit Bomb in Dragon Ball Z movies, where just every Dragon Ball Z movie needs a named attack from another Dragon Ball Z reference. It's like, the Kamehameha wasn't cool. The only times that the Kamehameha was cool was when the plot made it relevant or cool. Like the father-son Kamehameha, the Kamehameha wasn't the cool part. It was the ghost of his dad standing behind him and believing him while he fired a one-armed death beam.
Are you sure the Kamehameha where he shoots it out of his feet to dodge an attack wasn't cool?
That wasn't in one of the movies, though, that they put in Kamehamehas because they have to. Kind of like how like the Dragon Ball Z superheroes are like, let's give Gohan a special beam cannon, because that's iconic. And I'm like, guys, that's not context here. So to wrap back around to the mask, they have to put in the mask because it's iconic, because that's what goes on your poster and your trailer. But they've absolutely forgotten why it was cool in the first place. Kind of like how Naruto had a different themed Rasengan for the first 7 Naruto movies.
So that's point number 1 about Ghost Protocol that I was like, why? What is even going on here? Point number 2 is, like I said, the tower climbing, the running through the sandstorm. There's a super long, drawn-out final battle in a parkade.
So I need to pause for a moment. Whenever someone says sandstorm, I want to do like the opening riff from the like rave song, but I just don't have the physical ability to do it. And it's like a missed joke every time.
Every time.
Because every time that would be funny if I could just like techno on command, but I'm not even going to try. I'm not a beatboxer.
But so, then the next thing that I disliked, the final thing that I really disliked about it, so you got the poor use of the mask, you got incredibly long and drawn out action sequences where it feels like the movie doesn't actually progress through the action sequences, because immediately after the action sequence, whatever information they need, they just conveniently get.
Yeah, it's definitely like I said. So I treat Ghost Protocol like gonna treat the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong 2, which involves Kong having a robot fist, there being a junior King Kong and an army of them with axes fighting some supernatural horror by tag teaming with Godzilla. You don't watch that movie because it's good. You watch that movie because it's great. I mean, Ghost Protocol was a great movie because it was bad. Where 3
I don't even think it was great. I think it was just genuinely bad. It was all action, no substance. And then the worst part, in my opinion, so I explained how Ethan was in the Russian prison.
Yes. And
he happens to have to work with the guy who was responsible for protecting his wife.
Yes.
And the guy's having emotional turmoil over this. And it gets to the end of the movie. And Ethan Hunt is like, hey, I have a mission for all you guys because we're friends now, right? We're going to go on missions together.
I mean, it's the name of the company. Got to earn that cash money somehow.
And Jeremy Renner's character, which is the guy who was responsible for protecting Tom Cruise's wife.
Hawkeye, I'm familiar.
Yeah. Actually, he stopped doing Mission Impossible movies because he got too busy being Hawkeye. But that's neither here nor there.
I don't think he did anything wrong there.
So we get to the end of the movie. Ethan offers him a mission, and he declines. And he's like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm worthy of being a field agent, and I don't think I'm worthy of your admiration because I failed to protect your wife."
Correct.
And then, the writers decided to just completely undercut any emotional development and just like destroy any sort of character arc that Jeremy Renner's character could have, because Tom Cruise is like, "Oh yeah, about that. Yeah, that was a fake death. She's actually still alive."
No, they need to take it one step further.
Death.
I think they undercommitted. So what needed to happen is Jeremy Renner at the end of the movie needed to take his mask off and have been his wife the whole time.
that might have made it a comedy for sure.
It would have been amazing, and you know it. It's just like, I failed to protect your wife. I'm so sad. Because I was your wife. What?
The whole time. But no, it turns out that the murder of the Russian assassins was actually part of a super deep cover so that he could go into this Russian prison to gain intel from one of the prisoners.
Yeah. Yeah, fair.
I
just like watching Tom Cruise fall off a building.
It's just Ghost Protocol was not a good movie. Now, Rogue Nation, which is the next one, still not a perfect movie. Probably actually the best out of the actual.
Oh wait, how many masks do you want to give Ghost Protocol? Right now, 5 is what we gave Mission Impossible 2.
No, that was 3 we gave. No, wait, 5 was what?
No, we gave 3, yeah.
Mission Impossible 2 we gave 3. Mission Impossible 3 got 3.
So, how many have we given Ghost Protocol? I want to give it like a
Ghost
7.
Protocol.
Like, we both agree it's dumb.
7
I
sounds
just kind
fair.
of like the dumb parts.
I think a 7 sounds fair. It was pretty mediocre. Not as bad as Mission Impossible 2, which gets a solid, 9. And then Mission Impossible 1, like I say, it's not really fair to compare it to the other movies because it's so completely different, both in, the age, style, writing, everything about it is
but
just
it might actually have been the best one as a movie. Kind of like how each John Wick gets more insane and less good.
Well, see, I kind of appreciate it because now Rogue Nation starts up where they're like, yeah, so your IMF agents are crazy reckless.
Now you have to call it the proper name every time now for the rest of this episode.
But so these secret agents
who belong to what organization?
They're crazy reckless. And, the Kremlin got blown up while they were there, so obviously they got to shut down the Impossible Mission Force.
Thank you. I needed to hear you say it.
But this is just as Tom Cruise happens to be closing in on the Syndicate, which is described in the movie as an anti-Impossible Mission Force. Which, when you say it that way, doesn't really sound like it accurately describes a
no, isn't that
evil
just a regular
organization of spies.
Then?
But the Possible Mission Force.
That's how I described back when I worked at Cineplex my coworkers, as they were possible employees.
But and so the CIA director is trying to find Ethan Hunt, and Ethan Hunt is trying to find the Syndicate, and the Syndicate is trying to trying to puppet master the situation so that Ethan Hunt will steal the MacGuffin that they need.
So which MacGuffin
which
is
Ethan
this?
does steal. Well, in this one, the big stunt was him jumping into a water tube and then replacing something in a super secure water cooled data bank.
Oh, right. So unrelated, it instantly made me think of one of the Fast and the Furious movies where they launch a car into space was somehow a boring movie.
Yeah, okay.
And they had a MacGuffin, which was literally the top half of a hexagon thing, and they're like, if we have both the hexagon things, we can hack anything, anywhere. And I'm just like, please, Hollywood prop guys and writers, please go to community college for 6 months and look at a computer. please understand how any of this even remotely works. Please. It's like when they're like, yeah, we hacked the nuclear missiles. I'm like, those use floppy disks. How did you possibly? Looking at you, Ultron, you can't hack those. They run on Windows 93. They don't have Wi-Fi access. There's no signal to pick up on the machine.
So, the MacGuffin, originally they say it's a list of all the Syndicate agents, but I think, like, I really enjoyed Rogue Nation as a whole, because they had an extremely clever mask reveal. Like,
I do enjoy how what makes or breaks a Mission Impossible movie for you is the quality of the mask reveal. And it's like, it's such an iconic trope that it's literally, yeah, no, you can absolutely judge these based on the mask reveal. It'd be like judging a Star Wars movie based on the lightsaber fight. Like, it's a completely valid metric.
Well, so the MacGuffin that they're trying to steal happens to be a red box, they called it, which somehow can only be voice activated to be opened by the Prime Minister of Britain.
Don't they have voice changers as like their main gimmick?
Yeah, don't worry about it. They gotta go deal with the Prime Minister,
who is Mr. B.
And so then they managed to trick the leader of the director of the CIA, who's searching for Ethan Hunt. They managed to trick him to being there at the same time. And then they go in disguised as the British intelligence guy, like the director of the British intelligence. They have his mask on. And they basically, they talk to the Prime Minister and they're like, hey, so you remember that syndicate thing that you okayed a little while back, and then you said that you were gonna nix it because you didn't like them? Well, it turns out I kept doing that. And they basically like get this confession corroborated by the Prime Minister about how this British intelligence guy had been, well, he was trying to wash his hands of it, but he was basically responsible for the syndicate. And then after they do the mask reveal to the director of the CIA, played by the unfortunate Alec Baldwin. Anyways.
The unfortunate. Done. Like, I'm just picturing it like a Smash Bros. Here Comes a New Challenge. It's just like the unfortunate Alec Baldwin.
But so basically, then they convinced the CIA director that the whole sting operation was his own idea to get more information on the syndicate, and they like work it like Ethan Hunt's mastermind planned is like, yeah, so you're gonna say that you shut down the Impossible Mission Force to ensure that nobody knew about this impossible mission that they were gonna do to try and break down the syndicate, and they basically like work it out so that it was all his idea, even though he had no idea.
Amazing.
And I don't know, it's a little bit difficult to explain because it's so convoluted.
I mean, to be fair, you did this to yourself. And if necessary, we can set up future episodes to have like a Miro board where you can like whiteboard draw your explanations, because I think that'd be really funny.
But overall, the quality of the mask reveal, because you don't know that it's not the British intelligence guy, and then Alec Baldwin, he doesn't realize he's saying it to Ethan Hunt's face, but he calls Ethan Hunt a force of destiny.
Smooth. So I think he's
and Ethan Hunt takes off the mask. But anyways, I really liked Rogue Nation as a whole, though the MacGuffin's a little bit unclear because it turned out to be banking information.
You managed to steal $1 trillion in crypto, and it's worthless.
Also, they somehow managed to like perfectly replicate this red box. Even like I don't know how they could replicate the voice activation and then not feel it's not a perfect movie.
So what's kind of funny though is my brother's been playing around with like new software where there's like a thing for the Unreal Engine where you can take a photo and it'll make you a 3D model of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So with modern technology, you probably could copy the MacGuffin box pretty accurately.
Well, except for it wouldn't be a functioning MacGuffin box.
Yeah. Also, if you could just build MacGuffin boxes, they kind of lose their MacGuffin. Like, if you could just forge a second ring of power, then Sauron really picked the hard method. Like, oh, I got a plan. What?
So
Instead of getting the Hobbit here, I'm gonna just smelt a second one. Idiots.
But so I really enjoyed Rogue Nation. I think it's probably the pinnacle of between 3 and 7.
Okay, which ironically
Number
for
6
mask scale would probably put it at 2 masks or 3 masks.
No, I'd say it's at 2 masks.
Okay, so it was better than
it was
3, but not as good as the original concept.
Right.
Okay.
Well, Ghost Protocol is.
I really hope our fans
7.
are like trying to track our rating systems because we're inconsistent narrators. Like we're pretty much Arrested Development quality characters, where it's like no, they've been saying numbers, but they make no sense. They're like out of 10, and then he just gave it 11, and then said it was 3 2 seconds later. This show has no internal logic. We gotta boycott it.
But so then Mission Impossible 6. This is Fallout. With Henry Cavill
thing, right?
The MacGuffin, well, I mean, it starts out as plutonium,
which is a pretty sick MacGuffin.
Yeah, because the 6th movie Fallout is a very direct sequel to Rogue Nation in that with the leader of the syndicate arrested, there's a power vacuum, and a group of people who call themselves the Apostle take it upon themselves to continue.
I hate that. Let's pause mission for a moment. All right, so you belong to an organization called the Syndicate, right? And the Syndicate collapsed. You're like, okay, we need a new name for our new Team Rocket. And you don't go with the Faction, or the Outsiders, or the Shadows. No, you go with the Apostles and just add in a religious theme for some reason. Did they not see the flavor text? You don't just put an angel in green and call it a day. You make it green-white. Like, there's no class in that naming sense. None. Not okay. Boo. Now, the original organization was called something like the Chosen Ones, or the Monolith, or the Clergy. Then yeah, you can be the Apostles. But no, make your team names match. Boo. Bad movie. 12 masks.
Well, I mean, it turns out that the leader of the syndicate was actually puppet mastering this whole thing, and in the background, even though he didn't get the banking information, he seems to have a pretty substantial bankroll because he finds Tom Cruise's wife, who has been, faked her death, and he gets her on at this like Doctors Without Borders type medical camp. And then the Doctors Without Borders medical camp receives a mysterious donation under the condition that they get to build the camp and run the camp, the donator. And then they set up this camp at the base of there's like a bunch of rivers right in like.
The worst part of this evil plan is
China.
Work on us. So we received a large cash donation to open a redacted pizza, but the condition was they got to choose where to put the redacted pizza, and they put it at the bottom of a ravine somewhere. We'd just be complicit.
Well, see, so it turns out that because he actually manages to acquire the plutonium, he has a nuclear bomb, and this water basin would be irradiated and basically destroy the water supply for like a third of the world's population.
Good thing we're in Canada.
Right.
You know how good that'd be for our economy? Let's pause for a moment. Let's say, hypothetically, we were to irradiate a third of the world's water supply. Would that not make us a superpower overnight by having 70% of the world's fresh water and they just lost 30% of it?
I mean, yeah, that would make us a superpower.
Not saying that it was a Canadian who did this, but I'm sus.
They don't explicitly say.
But now I'm picturing him with
he's
John
British.
Cruchen voice.
The guy is supposed to be British because it was MI6.
So are we.
We're not British. We're Canadian.
Same shit. We somehow still have to swear allegiance to a fancy old lady when we become a member of Parliament, which isn't a sign of corruption. I don't know what is.
But so like I said, the leader of the syndicate managed to puppet master it so that Ethan Hunt's wife is at this camp when the bombs are supposed to go off, and Ethan Hunt is also there when the bombs are supposed to go off.
You know, pause.
It's just like,
I respect any revenge plan that is to hit an individual person with a nuclear explosion.
Well, and that as followed of the plan,
That's the name of the
also
movie.
irradiates a third of the world's supply. But Ryan George, just to get into the reference here, Ryan George has a bit. I don't remember which movie it was, but it was Jurassic World Dominion, because Chris Pratt and pilot lady they crash an airplane, and
that's just how airplanes
they get out
to the
and
ground in movies.
Yeah. So Tom Cruise is chasing down Henry Cavill. They're both in helicopters, right?
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise rams Henry Cavill's helicopter.
Does he not know that's Superman? Why would that work?
It was not Superman at that point because he had the mustache.
You don't know that. Superman can wear a fake mustache.
You know, I'm pretty sure that Superman's unmustached lip was the CGI.
Oh, please continue. Oh, it's such a good deep cut.
Oh. Anyways, he rams the helicopter, and then both helicopters go crashing to the ground.
Like you do.
And they roll a whole bunch, and then Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill just get out and have a fist fight on a cliffside.
So how does that disprove my Henry Cavill Superman theory?
Well, I mean, he does get hit in the face with a tow hook and thrown off a cliff and presumably die. So,
yeah, from the kryptonite in the bomb.
No, Tom Cruise manages to defuse the bomb at the last possible second.
Of course he does. That would just make sense.
So, I mean, I did actually enjoy Fallout a fair bit, but again, the action sequences started to get a little bit long, and
Can I give a completely unnecessary
at the end of this
rant?
big.
I do not like streaming culture giving abnormal episode lengths. I legitimately believe with every fiber of my being that forcing weekly TV shows to fit into 22 or 44-minute time slots resulted in better writing because people had to cut more pointless crap. That movies are, as a general rule, unless you're Dune, getting too long. And that, honestly, fight scenes and things go too long in a lot of shows and movies. Because, we can make it as long as it needs to be. And that's just bad editing. They're doing an X-Men 93 cartoon, which is like a direct sequel to the X-Men 90s cartoon. They're announcing it has irregular episode lengths. I'm like, it's a direct sequel to a 22-minute show. I want to beat someone with a phone book for deciding it should have irregular episode lengths when the whole thing it's trying to do is be a Saturday morning cartoon.
It's the first Mission Impossible had very little action and very much so a thriller, and each movie gets longer and longer and longer. And Fallout, I believe, clocked in at 2 hours and 15 minutes, where the first one clocked in an hour and 50.
That is enough time to go through an entire lecture on contract law. I have tested this last week. That is enough time to go through the first quarter of the Canadian Digital Millennium Act. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
That is enough time to get the entire Smash Bros. Melee roster through adventure mode.
but so, Fallout, when it was released, was
enough time to
the
beat Mega Man
longest.
X. Sorry. Please continue.
was the longest Mission Impossible movie. But then Dead Reckoning Part 1, I give it props for actually having a real ending.
Actually, I need to pause for a moment. I hate when movies say Part 1 in their title. I hate it. It is the worst, especially when it's like movie 5 or 6 of a franchise. And it's like, movie 7, part 1. I'm like, just make 2 movies, guy. You're not a trilogy. You're not a duology. Just make 2 movies. Just call it 9 and 10. Why are you doing this? Dune gets away with it because it was literally 2 parts. That is
Dune 1 didn't really end.
It wasn't supposed to, though. It was an epic, like, straight up. Like, it gets a free pass to me because Dune 1 didn't end, but it wasn't supposed to. I prefer it than them trying to... Well, you watched what happened when they tried to do all of Dune in one movie. If that exists, we know exactly what happens when you try to do that.
Right. It's too much Dune for one movie.
Yeah. Anyway, Mission Impossible.
I don't know how much they could have trimmed from Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, but because the action sequences, again, I mean, they do a very good job of keeping them dynamic. I think that's the best one where they actually like
at a point.
Well, so going back to Ghost Protocol, where he's just running through the sandstorm, and I don't know how long that sequence was, but it was just him running through a sandstorm.
Tom Cruise running is delightful. Like, if you play that any scene of Tom Cruise running to yakety sax, it's amazing.
Don't get me wrong. It's just there was nothing else to it. There was a sandstorm, there was Tom Cruise, and there was running.
You don't understand. In Tom Cruise's contract, it clearly says 5 minutes of me just running in every movie if you want me.
Well, I mean, there's a couple scenes where it's just him running in weird locations for sure. And I give it props for actually ending, but like they try to. So they had this whole like emotional arc. Ethan Hunt gets married. Ethan Hunt fakes his wife's death. Ethan Hunt does something else for a while. Ethan Hunt's wife is in danger. And there's like this whole nice arc where those 4 movies, despite having some weak points, actually came together to tell this cohesive narrative about Ethan Hunt and his wife.
Yes.
Then Dead Reckoning, they're like, yeah, we're done with the wife, but there's another sexy lady he has to work with, and there's a third sexy lady that died 30 years ago to the antagonist of this movie, who's nobody knows who he is. His name is just Gabriel because he works for an AI that erases his existence. So, I mean, Dead Reckoning, not the worst movie, but also the longest movie with very long... I mean, they mitigate a little bit by being very dynamic action sequences because the pressure and it's always changing because he's running away from one person, and then it turns out there's another faction or there's another thing they have to get.
So I'm literally in a fiction writing class right now, and I put fight scenes in my work and had a hour-long debate with a trained English professor about the value of fight scenes. And what we both agreed on, as concise and clean as possible, is the fight scene needs to be a vessel for the emotions and dialogue and heart of the piece. The punch needs to be connected to an emotional setup and payoff, or don't throw a punch. And if you only have 3,000 words to write a short story, you do not have space for a fight scene, unless that fight scene is doing heavy lifting to carry the emotional themes in the setting. Like, if you throw a punch, that's pointless. If you punch someone through a billboard, that actually does a lot of scene establishment, because it shows you the location, the text on the billboard, the scope of the characters. So, hitting someone with a newspaper with the date on it is a better use of a fight scene than hitting somebody with an uppercut.
Yeah. I found that they just, like I said, they kept them fairly dynamic with changing objectives and changing antagonists. But they didn't really convey much about the emotional state of the story.
To give a mini rant about Bleach, interestingly enough, Bleach fight scenes are terrible at conveying plot, but they're great at conveying personality because he went so above and beyond that each character's powers are directly based on their personality. So it's like, I have a bunch of cherry blossom swords because I'm a perfectionist. I'm like, okay, you're just doing artwork at this point.
Yeah.
But for, like, dynamic fight scenes, Dune is a great example of that, actually, where there isn't that many actual fight scenes in Dune, but the, like, few, like, one-on-one knife battles he has are directly tied into the stakes in the plot. Like, oh, now you have to actually kill somebody to live in the desert to earn their respect with your awesome stabby knife. Anywho.
Yeah.
Back to... So is this the most recent Mission Impossible as part 1?
Pardon?
Is this the most recent Mission Impossible?
Dead Reckoning Part 1, yes.
So I haven't actually seen it, but this is not Tom Cruise's on a plane. That was the last one.
Tom Cruise is on a train.
Yes. Okay, we're back on track.
Yeah, because Tom Cruise is on a plane that it's called a halo jump.
Right.
So in Fallout,
for the record,
the movie
best
opens.
Halo jump in cinema is probably in one of the Godzilla reboots, where they just Halo jump around Godzilla and people just die because they are Halo jumping and hit a Godzilla.
Well, I mean, that might be good. I don't know, but
I just like Godzilla. Godzilla's not good. I just enjoy it.
I feel like I want to know what the cameraman's name was that had to jump out of the plane backwards so we could get a shot of Tom Cruise's face as he's jumping out of the plane.
Karl, it was you.
Because he jumps out of the plane backwards and he has it honed in on Tom Cruise's face, and it's probably 30 seconds to a minute before the cameraman shifts out of the way and then slows. I don't know when he pulled his parachute, but he shifts out of the way to let Tom Cruise past him, and then you get a shot of Tom Cruise's
don't just
back.
Use a drone
and it's
for
like
that.
It was. I saw some of this behind the scenes. It was literally Tom Cruise runs towards the open plane door, and then the cameraman had to jump out backwards with the camera tuned onto Tom Cruise's face.
What was that? That was perfectly timed, because now we can pivot into our random question, having covered all of them. But how many masks would you give the most recent one?
Oh,
feels like 5.
Okay, well, so number 3 got 3. Number 5 got 2. Number 6 probably also gets 3, and number 7, yeah, I'd say 5 is good. It wasn't terrible. It's just a little bit long.
And the moment I hear the super AI, I'm like, ugh, and then roll my eyes and die.
Yeah, because I mean, the super AI apparently just breaks into stuff and then leaves traces of itself behind for some reason. And I'm pretty sure that the next one, they have a piece of the AI trapped in an offline computer, and they're going to use that somehow. And it's like, no, that's not how AIs work. You can't just chop off a piece of an artificial intelligence.
However, the TV show reboot was delightful. And with that,
okay, but was that the random question? How many masks is?
While chat has a chance to put any random questions in the active chat window, because we do Deep Space and Dragons live, here is our first random question. If you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphone, which 3 apps would you keep?
I have to delete all but 3 apps. Whoa. How thorough is this question? The messaging app and the phone app, they are actually apps that you're not allowed to remove them because they remove core functionality of the phone.
Call and message will be considered. You get to keep those. I'm going to be kind here.
Okay. What about internet browser? Do you get to keep an internet browser?
Only one browser, so whatever browser you're using to look up things you didn't want to look up on your main browser, that'd be your second app.
Oh yeah, okay. I mean, I do like DuckDuckGo.
You would,
but I don't think I would keep that. I don't think we've been over my hipster web searching activity.
The idea that you're a hipster is just so delightful. I enjoy that. Oh, completely unrelated. My brother had a dream the other day about the pancakes he once made.
A dream or a nightmare?
Not sure. So he dreamt that he got revenge on you by feeding you a 90% dark chocolate bar for the pancakes that he never ate. Completely unrelated. Just stalling for time in case chat wants to type up a random question. But for the app question, I think we'll alternate. We'll each go one app at a time. So my first app...
The apps that we're keeping?
Yeah. So my first app is going to have to be Chrome.
Yeah, no, I don't care about that. My first app is going to have to be online banking.
See, Chrome lets me do a crappy version of like several of my key apps, right? So Chrome will let me Gmail and banking and save up some space, but I think you're... Oh man, that's a tough loss.
Well, my second app that I'm keeping is Shonen Jump.
Samesies.
And the third app that I would currently actually keep based on my phone usage would be Gmail. Not because I send emails, but because I signed up for Quora on Gmail, and so then they will send me random like feeds to watch, or feeds to read through, which I kill a lot of time reading Quora questions and answers.
I'm so mad about my third app. So mad.
What's your third app?
It has to be stupid Facebook. So I hate Facebook. However, Facebook is how my aunt and mother contact me.
Yeah, but I mean, like, well, okay, I guess you don't actually have a computer. No, you have a PC.
Yeah, actually, yeah. You know what? Yeah, screw checking on my loved ones. You're right. That's a waste of an app slot.
Well, you can check on them through other devices that aren't app limited.
It's true. Wait, what am I doing? Maps. Google Maps. I'd be dead.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could do without Google Maps, but that would be a hard loss.
I'm out.
I might have to change my answer because Google Maps probably is more genuinely useful and less of a time waster than Gmail.
But I'm definitely keeping Shonen Jump because, like, even though it's not at its weakest point, there's a couple of things that are airing. I'm like, okay, I could do some golf and I can do some smash.
Are you still reading the golf one?
Huh?
You're still reading the golf one?
Yeah. He's just a guy learning golf.
All right.
I'm fine with that. Although Psychic Detective is delightful. All right, here comes our
Psychic Detective
question.
is delightful. Oh, is this from chat?
Not from... This one comes in through email, actually.
Oh, okay.
They would like to know, if you had to teach a class on one thing, what would you teach?
If I had to teach a class on one thing, what would I teach?
I mean, I teach creative writing, but that's just cheating at this point.
Well, okay. Well, see, I'm not really that much of a master of anything that I've done. I mean, I like to say that I would love to teach French horn.
I'd allow it,
but I don't know that I'd actually be good at it.
So if I were to hire you to teach a thing, like, I'm pretty sure you could do intro to music and French horn. Like, I'm pretty confident in that. I think it'd be really funny if you ran a boxing gym with no qualification whatsoever. I just think it'd be really funny, and I'd like that visual.
Well, see, my whole thing, my whole goal in life is to know just enough about everything to start a conversation and learn something from someone who knows more than me.
Fair. You know, it's kind of a joke, though. Like, I've had 3 years of education in writing and publishing, right? With a possible 3 more. Realistically, if I had to teach a class on one thing, I could probably teach a stronger cooking class. Like, I could teach a pretty good intro to writing. Like, you've listened to me give monologues about drafting and structuring. Like, I could do a pretty good one. But I have trained so many cooks.
I mean, I guess I could do a class on pizza making, but I don't know.
You know, I feel like you'd actually be able to do a pretty good class on opening franchises, just like in general.
a business class for how to open a franchise.
Like, I think if you went back to school for like a BA in business, you'd actually know more than you realize from just like having to. Like, you could train
I
people
did
in a
have to work
squirrel
on
system, and those suck.
I did have to make a floor plan for a new potential location today, so that's pretty cool.
See? You don't even know what you don't know. But with that, thank you everybody for tuning in to Deep Space and Dragons, Mission Karlpossible, our objective ranking of the Mission Impossible movies.
Completely objective.
So, question though. If we were to binge the Mission Impossible movies, and we had to take a shot whenever there was a mask reveal, what movie would you start on?
Well, I mean, if you want to get drunk, like the Mission Impossible 2, Mission Impossible 2 is the best Mission Impossible movie to watch, ironically. I know you said that you really liked Ghost Protocol.
I think I did like it ironically.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know you said you liked it ironically, basically, is what I meant to say. But it takes itself too seriously. And then it's like, you have, like I say, it's got to be at least a 5-minute sequence, if not 10, of Tom Cruise running through a sandstorm. There's no drinking game there.
I think, actually, I
That's
think our
just
Mission
10 minutes
Impossible
of
drinking
sobriety.
game would be mask reveal, you finish your drink, and you take a drink whenever Tom Cruise does a stunt. And we're considering the Tom Cruise run a stunt.
Okay, but I mean, like, you take a drink when he does his run, and then you have 10 minutes of nothing, 10 minutes of sobriety. It's just him running.
Oh, man. One of these days I'm getting around to actually doing YouTube shorts, because I just think it'd be so funny to be falling through it, and all you just get out of context. All you get is 10 minutes of him running and sobriety. That's what we're going to end on. 10 minutes of him running in sobriety. Thank you all for tuning in. Bye.
Oh, maybe buy some stuff too. That'd be nice.
That'd be great. Or don't. I'm not your boss. And episode done. We still need to do the musical ones, but like, you're just deep. Mission Impossible Marathon gives me life. You're like, I just have thoughts, okay, and I need to express them about Tom Cruise and his awesome cameraman. Why is that man not getting the Oscars? All of them.
But it's just insane to jump out of an airplane backwards with the camera. Like,
I hope it's been the same guy the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, not too many of the other stunts, like the.
No, I'm just picturing a cameraman also on the wing, and it's really funny.
The motorcycle off a cliff stunt, they didn't bother to get a cameraman to be able to see his face. I don't know how they would have done it.
By throwing the cameraman off a cliff.